A runway in an airport is an essential part of the air transport business. The International Civil Aviation Organization (ICAO) states that a runway is a rectangular area on a land aerodrome prepared for the landing and takeoff of aircraft. Runways may be a man-made surface, often asphalt, concrete, or a mixture of both, or a natural surface, grass, dirt, gravel, ice, or salt. Nnamdi Azikiwe International Airport in Abuja is the main airport serving the Nigerian capital city. It was named after Nigeria's first president, Dr. Nnamdi Azikiwe. It consists of an international and a domestic terminal. Both terminals share the same runway. In 2009, the airport handled over 3 million passengers. Nnamdi Azikiwe International Airport is the second most important airport in Nigeria. The airport currently handles little over 4 million passengers annually. There are direct international flights to European cities of Frankfurt, London Heathrow, and Paris, served by international airlines. There are also several flights to other regional destinations in Africa, as well as many daily flights to domestic destinations such as Lagos and Port Harcourt. The bad shape of the runway due to overuse has always been a source of concern to pilots and air traffic controllers. Built in 1992, with a lifespan of 20 years to cater for not more than 100,000 people per annum, the runway has now been stretched for 34 years, catering for over 4 million persons per annum. It is against this backdrop that the federal government announces a temporary shutdown of Nnamdi Azikiwe International Airport to traffic from March 8th.
Tearing apart of that critical airflow that gives you lift.
In a bid to get the inputs of stakeholders, the federal government convened a stakeholders meeting which had in attendance different security agencies officials, representatives of foreign embassies in Nigeria, international airline operators, and other domestic counterparts, legislators, the governments of Kaduna, Kwara, and Niger states, as well as other participants. The Minister of State for Aviation, Hadi Sirika, tries to convince the gathering to see reasons with the federal government's move. While the closure of the Abuja airport lasts, the federal government plans to reroute all Abuja flight activities to the Kaduna International Airport, a development that would lead to the screening of air travelers twice in Abuja and Kaduna. Mr. Sirika states that though the runway will still be put to use under the 6 months of rehabilitation, it will be shut down for 6 weeks to allow the midsection of the runway be constructed.
I was conscious of the sheer size of dilapidation of our critical infrastructure in the aviation industry, and especially the most critical ones, such as runways, and also especially that of Nnamdi Azikiwe International Airport, Abuja. On this runway, if it had been just the surface of it, that is the problem. We probably may not close this runway. We would probably be working at night for some very long time, but we'll achieve a very good result. Unfortunately for us, it is the entire structure of the runway that has failed. And before I continue to the next slide, I'd like to say here, for most of you who are here in this country, some of the foreigners, and some have been operating in this country when we were shouting, then we weren't in government, but we were shouting that something must be done to Port Harcourt runway. Nobody listened. Nobody did anything. As important as the city of Port Harcourt is to the economy of Nigeria, our hue and cry fell on deaf ears. What happened? What happened? The runway of Port Harcourt decided to shut itself. There was a crater. Air France landed, came up with a bust tire and some damage to the wheels, to the landing gears. It took some days to get the airplane out, and Port Harcourt was closed for 2.5 years. In every year we have 52 weeks. So about 130 weeks before something was done and Port Harcourt resumed operations. So we're all landing in various places, Owerri, Enugu, etc., Calabar, at the time. Of course, if we don't do anything on Abuja runway, the Abuja runway will shut itself, and for a very long time. Now, the intent of this is to brief all stakeholders that in one way or another, this action of ours will affect, of course, our team in travelers, the airports users, airlines and their operators, travel agents, car hire service providers, hoteliers, etc., etc. It has wide consequences.
Mr. Sirika discloses that though the Kaduna airport is still under reconstruction, it will be ready for business. He states that President Muhammadu Buhari has approved money for the rehabilitation of Abuja-Kaduna Expressway, adding that the Ministry of Works, Power and Housing will commence work immediately. In terms of security, that perhaps is one of the major concerns, Mr. Sirika says Kaduna State Government would provide additional security around the airport, Kaduna Metropolis, and en route Abuja.
Well, Kaduna town is 188 kilometers away from here where you sit. And the runway is 3,000 meters, 45 meters wide, and then it has shoulders of 10.5. The apron size is there, and it will accommodate 6 number Boeing 737s, and of course 2 number jumbo jets. And that's the capacity that is shown. As regards to the question that the Kaduna terminal building is not being finished, there are 2 good news. Good news number 1, we already have an alternative, the Hajj terminal, which is right there in the airport, not outside. and has the capacity to handle 500 passengers or about 5 to 6 737 load of passengers. And of course, thinking that the international passengers might not arrive at the same time. So even if it is just once that you'll be pushed to suffer this hardship of going to Kaduna and coming to Abuja, is sincerely regretted. It is in the interest of safety. It is in the interest of ensuring that aviation has not become that weakest link by which havoc would be visited on innocent people. Like I said, it's painful to decide to do it, but we get to do it. The airport security within the Kaduna airport, of course, traditionally, will move our aviation security from funds that are in Abuja to complement those that are in Kaduna. And the DSS will do what they know how to do best. We all don't know what they do, but we know that they are there. The civil defense, we know what they do. They would also be augmented. And then, of course, the Air Force personnel would also be upped in Kaduna to provide or to secure or further secure the already secured airport in Kaduna.
But despite the explanation made by the Minister of State for Aviation, there are disagreements to the plan and concerns of security and safety raised.
We are not supposed to have waited till this time before we are taking this action. But in order not to say much, I'm speaking on behalf of AOC, Abuja, International Airline Operators. And I want to let the forum know that we have our individual concern too, apart from the security issues and other issues that have been itemized. And we might have our individual stand on this. And for us, we believe that Kaduna might be an alternative for local operators, but definitely not for international airline operators. But we are still going to get back on this.
In his submission, the chairman of Airline Operators of Nigeria, Captain Nogi Megason, supports the rehabilitation move of the government, but stresses that the facility be repaired at night without necessarily shutting down the airport completely for 6 weeks.
We believe that the runway should be either repaired at night, like what is done in other countries, and where repairs are repaired from 6 o'clock to 6 in the morning. Examples I'll give, case studies, is the Gatwick Airport. 85 years later, Gatwick Airport handles 400,000 passengers a year. Abuja only handles about 40,000, which is less than 10%. So if we have that kind of volume going through Gatwick and Gatwick has not closed, I think we should look into it again before we move out of Abuja to other places because of the logistics and support which he's talked about and trying to give us comfort in. Or alternatively, the runway in Abuja is 3,900 meters. If you split the runway into two, you will get roughly 2,000 meters. With 2,000 meters of runway, they can fix one side for 3 weeks or even for 4 weeks and come back to the other side. With 2,000 meters of runway, a 737 can comfortably get into it for a 1-hour flight. A CRJ, a Dash 8, and the local flights can come, local domestic carriers can come in. The international carriers can go to Lagos and Kano, and we distribute for them, like what is done. Like what is done anywhere in the world, where you fly into New York or you fly into Heathrow, and EasyJet and the rest of them distribute into Scotland and the rest of the places.